That is the 4 financial issues you probably haven't thought about when it comes to your retirement.
Hello, my name is John Convery, and thank you for joining Michael and I for this week's edition of Retire Yesterday, Live Today. We're always excited to come to you to bring you ideas and observations, things that will hopefully translate into you getting better prepared for your retirement so we can raise your financial awareness so you can thrive in retirement, not just survive. Right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to come to you today with 4 financial issues that you probably haven't planned for when it comes to your retirement. Before you get too cocky about retirement, you need to make sure your plan hasn't left out these 4 common issues. Right. Because when it comes to retirement, there are 4 things many people never discuss. And one of them is inflation, the sneaky retirement killer. Because year after year, since the government has been tracking inflation since 1913, it's averaged around 3%. So if you're planning for retirement but not discussing inflation, you could run into the death of 1,000 cuts.
There's no doubt about it. Inflation has been very quieted for a long time since the Great Recession because we actually had deleveraging and deflation, which was very painful. The price per square foot of real estate after the helium bubble burst just plummeted, etc. People lost half of their 401k. The inside joke at the time was my 401k is now a 201k. It's cut in half. But at the end of the day, this is very important. Don't lull into complacency because inflation has been low for so long. First off, I challenge the federal government's Economic Bureau of Statistics on the inflation rate that they talk about. They say it's about 2%, which is on the Fed's target. However, they X out food and energy. Who doesn't eat? And who doesn't consume energy? If you add in those volatility or those volatile inputs, inflation is probably significantly higher. All you got to do is look at the cost of a college education, tuition for an undergraduate, as well as, don't even get me started, the cost of Obamacare and healthcare unreimbursed expenses today.
Yes, that is one of the financial issues that you probably haven't planned for retirement. Number 2 is taxes, because if you don't plan for your taxes, that can throw your entire budget out of whack.
Yeah, we're thinking about taxes now. We understand the Trump administration has put forth their new tax plan, which would consolidate rates, but also eliminate some Schedule A deductions, other than deductions for mortgage interest and maybe charitable donations. So this even is a concern for people that live in other of our Confederation of States that pay state income tax, because they may not be able to deduct that below the line and reduce their federal taxable income. But at the end of the day, whether this bill gets bipartisan support or not, you've always got to think as we get close to the holiday season and the end of the year about tax loss harvesting. How can you use losses carried forward and book them against gains this year so you can ameliorate or lower your tax bill this year, whether or not we get tax reform or not? So mark that down as a red flag issue for yourself. Do I have potential unrealized tax losses that I can use to lower my income by the end of the year? Because if you don't take action before December 31st, it's poof, gone in the wind.
Yes, you don't want to get lost in a life raft without a paddle. You want to make sure you are taking care of all the things when it comes to your retirement. And we're going to go into tip number 3 right now. And that is another thing people do not discuss when it comes to retirement, and it is their estate plan. And if you fail to put together an estate plan, at least some sort, you're really leaving an unfair burden on your family when you pass away.
No doubt. 2 major issues I see, and I'm not an attorney, but these are simple observations, because in the discovery, or what we'll call the discovery process of our complete planning review, CPR, we call that cardiopulmonary resuscitation for your finances. We want to breathe life into your finances. But all kidding aside, even if you're doing great, it never hurts to get a second opinion. And newsflash, you can't get a second opinion from the person that gave you the first opinion. If you know what I'm saying, right? So at the end of the day, I meet with people and ask them, what about your estate planning? And they said, well, I thought you were a financial advisor. Well, that's true, but what about your estate planning? Well, I have a last will and testament, but it's dated. Or maybe you inaugurated that up in New York, but now you're a Floridian. This is a different jurisdiction with different laws of intestate and different laws regarding taxation and so forth and estate settlement. So you want to make sure you update that to be relevant. The second thing is make sure you have the sister documents, the power of attorney and the living will, so that you have living benefits, that people know your decisions as to how you want to be treated healthcare-wise, if you've had an accident or something like that, and your financial obligations, how those will be handled. And third thing, many people have popularized the use of revocable trusts here in South Florida, but a fatal mistake is many people have the trust, but they never change the title of their assets or add it in a Schedule A. So guess what? The idea of avoiding probate is thwarted if you haven't taken the necessary follow-up step, which is to list your assets on a Schedule A inside the trust as established, or change the title of your accounts to the name of the trust as registered. So simple things to be aware of, but so important. If you don't have these things in place, it really can cause you a lot of upset and tragedy in the future.
Yes, absolutely. That is a lot of information. If you learned something from John right there, like I have.
That's why they call me Yoda, Mike.
Exactly why we call him Yoda. Like the show on below right now. We just want to make sure you're enjoying it, because that is 3 common financial mistakes that people do not plan for when it comes to retirement. We're going to go into tip number 4 right now, and that is long-term care, because the average cost of long-term care for a couple is around $130,000. So, John, Dad, what are some things people can do to start managing the risk of spending too much money on long-term care?
Well, first off, you got to figure out what your strategy is going to be. Most people, I think, are concerned or worried about whether or not to get long-term care insurance. It's kind of a dichotomy, right? Because you pray that you'll be anointed with good health. You don't ever want to think of the process of your body breaking down, even if your spirit is still alive and robust. But at the end of the day, many people also suffer from the fallacious idea that long-term care insurance is the only way to protect yourself from long-term care costs. Now, while that is a way, there are many alternatives. Veterans aid and attendance benefits. For you veterans, thank you for I salute your service to our country, but are you even familiar with it? I meet with people that get tended for in their health care at the VA clinic in Palm Beach Gardens. They've never even heard of veterans aid and attendance benefit, nor do they know how to be eligible. For those of you that have never heard of half a loaf planning. You know the old saying, half a loaf is better than no loaf at all. That's a strategy that you may want to be cognizant of. But keep this in mind, whether you have long-term care insurance or a health care rider. You know, ever since the Pension Reform Act of 2006, certain modified endowment contracts, which are insurance products, or annuities with riders for lifetime income, actually have a virtue in that there's a certain long-term care benefit that if you lose 2 or more activities of daily living, such as you can't button your shirt or dress yourself, or you're not ambulatory, you need assistance going to your bathroom or navigating around your home, that you may be eligible for twice or double the income that you otherwise would have got on an annuity for lifetime income. Those are a multiple of ideas that I can give you, but remember this, even if you think you don't have a plan for long-term care and the potential visitation of unreimbursed medical costs, you do have a plan. It's the state impoverishment or spend down plan. And believe me, you don't want to be on their plan. Make sure you have your own plan.
Yes, absolutely. You want to make sure that you take things in your own hands.
Take
you
control
do not want to leave it into the state. That is the 4 financial issues you probably haven't thought about when it comes to your retirement. If you like the show, again, like it on below so we can keep
share it.
Like and share. There you go. He doesn't even know how to share, but he's already throwing it out there. So like and share the show. We'll be back with you Friday. So tune back in on Friday, and I'm going to let John close out the show. So peace out.
Hey, my friends, again, Mike, great to be with you. You see, we're broadcasting from in front of my fieldstone hearth at the log cabin. And yeah, that's kind of weird, right? Who on earth lives in a kiln-dried log cabin in South Florida? You're supposed to live in a beautiful home on the Intracoastal with terracotta roof tiles and swaying palm trees. No, we live in a kiln-dried log cabin, kind of old-time Tennessee style. But I always love to exit out of our show by sharing my adaptation of the proverbial old Irish prayer. And it goes this way. May the wind be gently at your back, my friend. May the sun shine warmly on your face. May the misty low road rise up to meet the high road. And until our paths meet again, my friend, may God anoint you with good health, richly bless you, and have a magnificent day. Goodbye now.